everybody. My name is Sydnee Goodman, and I am joined by the ever so lovely Janina Gavankar.
Hello, everyone.
So you are an actor, musician, and producer, and I feel like that doesn't even fully encompass everything that you touch.
I'm a fangirl first, especially for this industry.
Yeah.
That's sort of my gaze. That's my door of entry into this weird
Yeah.
world.
I do feel like being a fangirl of whatever you're doing is probably a good place to start.
Sure. Well, yeah. When it comes to the games industry, really, like everything that I do is with this sort of super objective to just see growth within the industry in any way that I might maybe be able to help or support. So it's a little different than like I want to achieve for myself in this industry. I don't really have that in my heart as much as I'm.
Like, I love this thing so much, and I want to help lift it up.
Yeah, I mean, I started playing video games in 2007. I had a really strict upbringing. I was not allowed to play video games. I didn't even know they really existed. And then...
Wait, so what was that like when you realized that video games existed? Was that just, like, mind-blowing?
Yeah, because I played in 1 year. Listen, I knew they were there, but I was also like again, this is just the gear that I drive in. I'm a try-hard, so I was just like a super focused classical musician growing up, and I didn't notice anything around me. And then, so then 2007 came around, and I played in 1 year. I played the first Portal, the first Assassin's Creed, the first BioShock, Half-Life 2, Zelda. The Wii had just come out.
Wow,
like
that was
Rainbow Six Vegas, I think. Like, I just didn't know. And then I had a friend who was like, "You're a gamer. Here's the orange box. Play this." And that was it.
So that was an amazing year to come into games.
It was the perfect year, but also I just was like, "This is what video games are, I guess." Like, I just didn't know.
Wait, so which of those games were your first game? Like, picking up the controller and was your mind just blown?
Well, it really was BioShock because I was playing with my ex-boyfriend, but I was a faster hacker of the tubes. So as the game escalated, I was just like, just give it to me. You're gonna fail. You're gonna die. You need the thing. So I didn't. Yeah, I guess it was BioShock. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I feel like everybody has that game. Mine was Halo Combat Evolved, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can shoot aliens. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you were you still are an actor, and then you have now started acting within video games. What was that transition?
Well, so again, at first I was like, I love video games, and I would just sort of ask everybody I knew, like, are you in video games? Do you make video games? Can I be friends with anybody who makes video games, please? It just sort of was me walking around town trying to make friends with anybody in the games
Yeah, I was going to say, where did you find these people?
I didn't. I found nobody.
You just have to go on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I guess I did tweet a lot, which we'll come back to in a second. I'm glad I did, but we'll come back to that. And then I auditioned for Far Cry 4. And then that was the first moment. That was my first performance in a game. It was performance capture.
So one note on that. How did you even...
I thought you were like, and one note on that. I really didn't love how...
By the way...
Next time, if you could just...
I took some notes, actually.
Here's some...
Like, that's what this is about.
I take direction. Go ahead.
No, but how did that... Is that audition process different than auditioning for TV or film?
It depends on the studio. In that case, I sent in an audition tape, which is very similar to what you would do for an on-camera experience. But if you're working with anybody at Sony, you're pretty much going to their not just Sony. I mean, listen, it just depends on the studio. You can go to an entire motion capture studio and have to be put right into the volume. The volume is the huge gray set with 1,000 cameras around you, just to make sure that you can physically perform to the level that you have to in performance capture. So it's different, but quite honestly, as an actor, what you're doing internally, it's the same process.
Gotcha. Okay, so you setting the stage, you played your games, you loved it. Now you're trying out for or auditioning for Far Cry 4.
Yeah, and then I got that, and then I think they quickly understood what they were dealing with. Because I was like, I want to be a part of every single part of this process that you will allow me to. So they let me be a part of the first table reading, which is you just never get access to. I watched them scrap an entire script. They rewrote the entire script. Wow. So all of my relationships for the character changed. She became much more of an aggressor, which was dope.
Was that your input, or were you?
No, that was all them.
Watching it happen.
That was all them. I really took a back seat. I'm a very vocal performer, so I'm constantly asking questions, and I thrive on collaboration. But because it was my first one, I was like, cool. Where do I stand? Okay. Great, got it. My dots good. Okay, great. Okay,
dots.
Yeah, the dots. The dots are the dots become your performance later. So make sure they're good. Yeah.
Okay, so you got the gig. Did you play the game when it came out? How was that? Well, I'm saying I don't know. It was a bad question.
Listen,
it was a bad question.
I'm a completionist. I 100% everything.
Oh, wow.
So,
I admire that about you.
Do you? I don't know. I don't admire it about myself. There are too many hours. I need to chill out and not do that. I need to play less of more things. Anyway, so yes, I 100% of that shit. Absolutely.
Did that change your experience, being a part of the making of this game and kind of seeing the inner workings of it and then sitting down and playing it?
Yeah. I had played so much prior to the performance that I know what it feels like to enter a cinematic and leave a cinematic, and what it feels like to open a door. I know I was not the protagonist in Far Cry 4, but I know what you've been through before you talk to me. You've just killed so many people. So my relationship to you, knowing this about you, is important. There's a lot of times when these things are sort of left out. So there's this actor's term, the moment before, which is really what happened right before this scene, because that will inform the moment. Yeah. You'd be surprised how many times people forget to talk about and root themselves in the moment before. But I'm thinking about your moment before as the player when I'm talking to you. So these kinds of things it's an insight that I was really happy to have, and I was trying to share with a lot of the other actors who don't give a shit about games.
I was just going to ask that, how being a gamer affects how... do you think it gives you an upper edge or just a different frame of reference when you're getting ready to perform motion capture or voice acting?
I think it does. I mean, I'm the type of person who wants that insight. Also, the way that I communicate with developers, with the entire team is on that level, and I also have no ego in the performance, because quite honestly, teams are killing themselves for years and years and years, way before an actor shows up. Now, we are the conduit to you guys. We humanize the experience, so when you're playing, it's symbiotic and you feel invested. But any actor who comes in and thinks oh yeah, I'm the reason this game... No, you're not. There are hundreds of people in a AAA game killing themselves. Crunch is evil, guys. And anyway, I respect that so much. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see how that'd be super helpful, just with anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, I say that, but then sometimes, you see people get Oscars and they're just the most horrible, egotistical assholes, and they're still genius actors. So what the hell do I know? I don't know. I just know what works for me.
Yeah.
And I want to have a sustainable career in an industry that I love. So that's what works for me.
So when you're preparing, is there a huge difference between you preparing for a role on TV or film versus preparing for a role within video games?
There's no difference to me, character-wise. Yeah. So I'm like a nerdy actor. I create a backstory, and I think about what motivates every part of that person, and I'm walking around the world obsessively thinking about how if I experience something, how I'm experiencing it, and how the other person that lives inside of me would experience the same moment. I do all of that stuff. I'm not sharing it all the time because it's probably exhausting to everyone else. But for me, it's my happy place.
Yeah. So you did Far Cry 4, and then was Battlefront 2 next?
Far Cry happened, then I did Hunt the Truth, which is a very cool, it was delivered in a podcast form, but it ushered in Halo 5. After that, I did something I'm forgetting. I don't know. And then Battlefront happened. Battlefront 2 happened. Then after Battlefront, I got to do the DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yes.
which was so cool because I had 100% of the game before they even asked me to be a part of it. So that was like, oh God. And Ashley was a friend of mine by that point. It was so dope. Okay, anyway. They just didn't know who, they hired me, and then I show up to the studio and I'm like, okay, so the frozen wilds, that's north, right? So that means when I go, I've had so many questions for the devs.
But I mean, I feel like that only can be so, incredibly helpful to inform you doing your job.
Yes, it is. But I'm listening to myself say that, and I'm like, I'm calling it helpful, but it's really just like a life hack. It's like, I wanted to see behind this curtain so badly. I just figured out how to coerce people into letting me see behind the curtain because it was helpful.
One super elaborate plan.
Yes. Yeah, but it worked, so it's fine. It is helpful. I'm diminishing the fact that it is helpful, but it is also both. I just want to be, I'm a fangirl first,
Yeah, exactly. So with motion capture, I do not know anything about motion capture. I know I've seen pictures, you're in the suit, there's a lot of dots, and there's a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on what that experience is? I mean, how do you act normal with this very not normal thing on you?
Well, so when you go to... So I'm a theater school kid, right? So the first thing you do when you go to theater school, like Theater 101, the first thing they do is they make you roll around on the ground and just be an idiot because it makes you get over yourself. So you can put the skin of somebody else on. Vanity is evil. That is the thing you are taught. Vanity is your enemy. And the best place to live in that theory is in the performance capture world, not Hollywood. I went from theater school to Hollywood, and I had to, nobody hired me until I realized, I have to play by some of these rules of what you think a female actor needs to be to even get into the room to audition for you people. Got it. It took me a while.
Yeah.
It's two kinds of performances. I have to give you a version of Janina, and then I have to present a character to you. I have to work twice as hard. Screw that. I'd rather just do what I was trained to do in the games industry and just show up and be the person, really full-bodied. The way they walk matters. So I love performance capture. I'm sort of speaking in circles, but I love performance capture because it is sort of a more pure version of what you would do on camera in quote-unquote Hollywood. It's a strange place, beautiful place between theater and film because they're still filming you. What I did in Battlefront was a very subtle performance. What I did with my face was not much. I just felt things, and they captured it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely came across.
It was a risk, though, and I talked to them about it. I would do a take, and I'd say, "Is this big enough?" But Tom Keegan, our director, who is the best actors director I've ever worked with in any medium, period, was like, "Do less. We'll catch it." He let me trust that what I was doing in subtleties would get picked up, and it was.
So this might be a misinformed question, but do you get to see any sort of, it takes so long for them to animate after you're doing this motion capture. How do you know, I like what I'm doing here? Is there a feedback loop or anything outside of just having a director say, we need more of this, less of this?
I'm sure you guys have heard a little bit about what Sony does. I mean, this, it's almost immediate over there. The shit is crazy. But, I trust my my team. They'll tell me if they need something different, but also it's exactly the same as television and film. I'm not a person who sits behind the monitor and says, play it back, let me see what I did. I just look at the director and I say, do we have it? Do you want to change anything? And then we move on if we have it. And then, that's all in someone else's hands, the editor's hands. And there are still animators, in performance capture. In performance capture, they are, it's your performance, but it's still elevated by a very, very talented animator.
Yeah, definitely. So motion capture is just one piece of the puzzle. Do you usually do voice acting before or after the motion capture?
It's mostly after, which I prefer because then at that point it's I know who the person is. We did a ton of in-game dialogue for Battlefront II, and we did that after. Or during, actually. I was like, 1 week of the month I would be on camera, and then the rest of the days I would be in the studio doing in-game dialogue.
What is the preparation for that?
For voiceover?
Yeah, for voiceover.
Vocal warm-ups in the car. It's just like staying limber, staying healthy, so you can stay consistent. Because, if you don't warm up and you have a 9 a.m. call, then your voice in the morning is going to sound different than your voice at the end of your session. And if those moments, and it's just like however much of it you can get done. So if you come back the next day and you have a lower voice again, that could be back-to-back moments in a game. So you really want to try to stay as consistent as possible in your own vocal health and range. And then also, of course, consistent with where the character is emotionally, etc.
So in being a part of kind of that back end of video games, was there a job or somebody either on set or just a part of making it happen that you didn't know existed that you're kind of like, whoa, that's amazing?
Again, it's different at every studio.
Yeah. But is there one in one of your projects that maybe stood out to you as like, what, super intriguing?
Yeah, on Battlefront, we had the word director and the word producer. There are so many directors and so many producers on games, and they all do different things, of course. But for our cinematics on Battlefront 2, we had a director, but really he was in the film world, we would just call him a DP, a director of photography. He was choosing the shots. So as we have one director that's talking to the actors, breaking down the scene, figuring out the emotional moments, the emotional beats, the rhythm, the tone, the whole thing, breaking down the scene. He's walking around figuring out how he's going to shoot it as if he had a camera, because it's 360. So later he has to go in and choose if it's behind us, over our shoulders, looking this way, figuring out how he's going to shoot it. So as soon as I figured out, oh, okay, great, what's the shot?
Yeah.
Tell me what the shot is. If you have an idea early, tell me so I can play away or to the camera. And then that was a person I could communicate with in a way that I would on set of a television show or a film.
Gotcha. Wow. I would have never even thought. I feel like as a gamer, I never really think about those things, but I feel like that minutia is kind of just like so beautiful to think of. I mean, video games really is such an art form.
Oh yeah. Listen, the intersection of art and tech is where I'm the most happy. And the games industry is the epitome of this. These developers, these people who work in the games industry are so technically proficient. They have to be so technically proficient to be able to work in development, in creation of games. They're the most brilliant minds. I'm obsessed with these people.
Yeah.
And I feel so lucky that I get to hang out with them and have conversations every day.
So, I mean, I feel lucky just to work in this industry as well. What would be any advice that you would give somebody who's trying to get into voice acting or motion capture?
Oh, train. If you want to be a concert pianist, you're going to play the piano, right? You're going to put in a lot of hours of playing an instrument. It's the same thing. It's an instrument. Be about it. Mean it. Because you might get hired once, but on that job, they will figure out quickly that you are a faker. That's not good.
Yeah.
Train. Take it seriously. And if you want to get into the games industry, period, you just need to know that you don't need to be able to program to find a space for yourself. That's really the misconception is like, well, I could never be in the games industry because I don't know how to code. That's okay. There are so many places for you as a creative or just support staff of those creatives. If you want to get in, it's such a new industry. If you ask people who are in the games industry now, like, what's your origin story? I even just asked you.
That is my favorite question.
It's my favorite thing to ask.
Question.
The weirdest ways in. It's such a new industry. You can find your way in. You can be like me and be like, guys, does anyone in the industry? Does anyone want to be my friend? Can I help? Can I come to help in any way? And somebody will say yes.
Yeah.
Especially in the indie world. Saying that AAA games are the games industry is doing such a disservice to all of the creatives in the industry. That's like saying Hollywood is just the Justice League and Saw. It's like, okay, so we're just going to ignore every beautiful film that's ever been made. We're going to ignore every beautiful indie game that's ever been made. There is tons of space. If you want to get in where you fit in. Figure it out.
Yeah. Well, going back to like, I think what I love about the games industry is it's because it's so new. There's not really anybody who necessarily came out of the gate and was like, well, now I'm here. And so everybody has these like really intricate backstories. And I think that's kind of what lends the games industry to be just like such a pit of wonderful.
It's so diverse.
Yes.
The points of view are so diverse, And as it goes, diversity within the games industry is a really big conversation right now, and it needs to be.
Yes.
So the conversations won't be homogenized for very long either.
Yeah.
So it's just really just like, bring your weird. Bring us your weird. The weirder you are, the better this games industry will be because it's going to add to diverse conversation. That's what I'm into.
Yeah.
Again, growth is all I care about. I just want to play good games.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
So you are a part of games in this capacity. Is there like a dream scenario where you get involved in like a
where I
different
just
way?
start my own studio? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd work at your studio.
Cool.
I don't know what I do, but I can.
I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
I'll just ask you a series of questions and be like, what do you want to do? What do you think makes you special? Now let's try that. Yes. I mean, there is definitely a dream studio in my future, but I have so much to learn. In a lot of ways, I feel like I just got here. And there are so many things that have happened just in the last year that I can't talk about yet, that it's like, if I earn the right to start a studio, then I will do it so loudly that everybody will find out, but it's going to take a second, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, with video games, I feel like, I don't know, it's such a passion, an area of passion and excitement. And I know for me, I had so many misconceptions about getting into the industry. And
like what?
You kind of touched on it with like, I have to code, otherwise like I can't do this. I think I also thought like, oh, like I am a woman and I can't do this side of things. And granted, I chose not to, but I think the whole thing was that I realized that that was an option to me, like coding and getting into the more back-end side of things, and being like a dev, right? But I made the conscious decision, okay, I'm not very good at that, so I'm going to do a different thing. But I feel like, I guess my question is, what misconceptions did you have coming into this that have kind of been broken? Because like you said, the industry has grown so much. Or was it the coding? Like, there's more than just coding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a general misconception that I certainly had as well. And again, like all of the games that I played in 2007 were big-ass AAA games. So I didn't know that there was a beautiful world of indie games that that's where my heart really is, right? And I'm still, like, putting 90 hours into things like Horizon Zero Dawn, guys. Like, let's not get it twisted. But I certainly didn't know that there was a whole side of the games industry that I was going to love as dearly as I do. And I just didn't fully understand what it took. How much human effort it actually takes to make a game.
Yeah.
You can't know because the games industry is very secretive. Everybody works in silos. They are the fear of God is put into people when you're working at different studios to make sure that you don't talk to other studios, and it's actually detrimental to growth because, you know, somebody at one big company isn't going to talk to the other one about game theory when you really should, because those conversations can make you grow as an artist. So yeah, I guess I did not know how much it took to do it, and two, I didn't realize that like nobody talks to each other. You know.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, like I've been on many shows where I live in secrecy, but you're still talking to other artists about your process. Part of that is because in Hollywood the development cycle is so short, right? By the time if a script is written. In a television world, you know, you could be on the air in a year by the time that script is done. Of course, the years, pitching, etc. It's just such a shorter life cycle. Development cycle.
Versus like 5 years.
Yes, or longer. So I had no idea that was part of the culture of the games industry, and it's something that I don't love and that I want to change.
Yeah, just like do you have any? I mean, I don't want you to have to drop your hot secrets and fix that area.
I can't tell you. I'm not
going to
tell you
now.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not going to tell you anything. But I can tell you that I'm working on a game right now that I'm very excited about by Night School Studios. They made Oxenfree. I don't know if you've played Oxenfree, but it's really good. And their new game is called After Party. It's an adventure game, and basically, you go to hell and you have to outdrink Satan. That's all I'm telling you.
That sounds wonderful.
But it's great, yeah. And we released a trailer and some gameplay, so you can see all of that. It's a 2019 release. And that studio is one that I've admired for a while. They're such weirdos. And strangely, you know, they don't even talk about this, but it means a lot to me. Their studio's 50% female, 50% male, and that's not even an issue to them because it shouldn't be an issue. It's like not even a big deal. You don't get extra credit points for just being normal people. So I love Night School. I'm really excited about that game. That's the only thing I can tell you.
Okay.
I'm not going to blow up my spot. But, you know, as we go, my writing partner, Russo, and I are creating things in different mediums, and people will find out about them as it comes.
Perfect. Well, we will all be very, very excited whenever that happens.
Hopefully you'll like all the things.
So what, I think we have time for a few more questions, but how has being a part of video games changed how you receive them, like as a fan of video games? And just understanding kind of like the method to the art form a little bit more.
Oh, I mean, I love it so much more. I have so much more... I'm so much more invested when I like a game, and I have so much more compassion when I don't like a game. So if something is terrible, it's just sort of, I mean, again, it's so complicated, so hard to make a game. I have so much compassion for whatever wires got crossed in the creators' minds and the developers' minds or between each other so it doesn't pan out. Yeah, I just have a ton of compassion when I don't like something. That's changed. I definitely have less nerd rage. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, that makes total sense.
You know, I used to be so quick to be like, oh, this sucks. Like throw a disc or something. But now I'm just like, oh, why? How? Oh, because you know that people are killing themselves.
Yes.
Nobody's trying to make something bad. So I definitely, you know, I have so much more compassion.
That's such a sentiment that needs to be repeated, is that, like, developers aren't actively sitting there like, what's the worst game we can make so that we piss everybody off? Like, nobody's trying to do that.
Yeah, so my nerd rage is definitely capped more now. I definitely used to be like I can't believe you ruined the thing I love. I for sure still have that, but I have less of it now because I've seen what it takes.
Yeah. So that actually wraps us about up.
Great.
Where can people find you so that maybe whenever you do give us your big announcements, they can make sure to see it?
You can find me on Twitter at Janina. You can find me on Instagram at Janina. And I answer things, so just reach out.
Wow, that makes it really convenient. That makes it nice and easy.
Yeah.
So
very simple.
Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoy your E3.
Have a great E3, guys.